Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Wilmore.
Welcome, everyone, to Make Your Day Richer. I hope you had a great weekend. I certainly did. I spent it in Atlanta. I went Friday after the show, came back yesterday for a birthday party weekend. Nothing crazy. He turned 1, so it wasn't a big, crazy weekend. We actually spent it at the aquarium and then hanging out on the couch. But it was a great weekend of relaxing and family time. So I'm glad we did that. And now we're back, and it's Monday. So I think we should start the show. T.L. McCoy is here today. We're talking about her book, Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, which was inspired by her granddaughter's diagnosis. And she's also the founder of the Blue Round Book Group. So we're going to talk about that as well. So I think it's a great show. And I'm excited for you to meet T.L. McCoy. So hit it, Big Infinite.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
T.L., good morning and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. I love what you're doing. I love what you've done. And I want to talk about it, which is why I had you on the show. I want to first talk about the actual book, and then we'll talk about everything that kind of led up to the book. The book is called Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. Say that 5 times fast. Yes. Love it. Love it. Tell everybody about the book.
So it's an inclusive middle grade book. It's a fantasy book. I wrote it for my grandchild who was diagnosed with Dravet Syndrome. If you've never heard of that before, I'm not surprised. It's a pretty rare condition that causes pretty catastrophic seizures. So basically, I was in a program writing an adult book when I came across a study that said there weren't a lot of books on the market for kids who have disabilities. So I stopped what I was doing and I wrote this book for Delilah. I always say it's not my book, it's her book. She's a beautiful 4-year-old girl, love her to death. She's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So her and my children and of course God.
What age was she when she was diagnosed?
So she was very young when she was diagnosed. The part of how they determine it is most of these kids have seizures either in their first year of life or shortly after their first year of life. I think she was actually, I always say it was the first year, but I actually think she was just a little bit over her first year of life when she started having her first seizures. And then usually around like maybe the second seizure, they'll start looking at doing more testing. And with her, they did genetic testing and found that she had a mutation on her SCN1A gene, which is part of what you need to diagnose Dravet syndrome. It kind of works like a spectrum, almost like autism, where some kids will be very high functioning and some will not be. Delilah is pretty high functioning. She's only 4 years old right now. There was a possibility that she would never be able to walk or talk, or she might need lifelong care. You know, that was a possibility, but I take her to my daughter and I and her husband, the family takes her to therapies every week. So she gets physical therapy and speech therapy. They lowered her occupational therapy, but she used to get that weekly too. So she's pretty high functioning right now. She can walk, she can talk. They just tested her and her intellect is actually higher than some in her age range. So the main thing with her right now is she has trouble articulating what she says. So most people can't understand her. I was actually kind of annoyed. We went to a restaurant, I won't say which one, and she ordered her food because she likes to order her own food. And the waiter said, "Can you even understand what she's saying?" And I felt annoyed because like he didn't realize that, you know, when you look at her, you can't tell she has this disorder. And it kind of, you could see her shrink a little bit. So stuff like that, it's hard to see, you know, because she's going to face these things. And so part of what I wanted to do with the book was empower kids who have things like disabilities and may be different, to say like, it's okay to be different. Sometimes it's great to be different. And sometimes that's what makes you awesome, you know, the differences we have.
Yes, and if you are reading it and you don't have a disability or this disability, then you know that there are people out there like that. And you get, if it's an everyday occurrence and we're talking about it, then it's not so shocking when it happens and so scary when it happens to someone that you know.
Well, I mean, I think like it's just she's presented as somebody who has a life-threatening seizure. So even if you don't, if you're a child and you just want a fun, adventurous book, I did write it that way so that it's not like totally focused on a disability. It's really more an action adventure book that features a protagonist with this disorder. But it doesn't fully define her. Her powers are rooted in her disability. And that was part of how I wanted the empowerment to play out. But it's really meant for all kids. And I think one of the things I wanted to show is like what happens when you see someone have a seizure. Because I think if you've ever seen someone have a seizure, a 1-minute seizure can feel like a lifetime. Very, especially if they're convulsing, it's a very scary experience. And so when children see another child have a seizure, it can be traumatic for the ones who are watching. And so it kind of explains what's happening a little bit there.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what people are going to find in the book, like what the story is?
Sure, absolutely. So basically what happens in the book is Delilah has, in the story, she has a life-threatening seizure disorder, and she ends up having a life-threatening seizure that opens an indigo door in her mind. So she steps through this door into this world called Other Sphere. But she's in two places at once in the book. So her body on Earth, the doctors feel it's necessary to put her in a medically induced coma to stop the seizure because it's so extreme. And that can happen in real life. I'm a nurse, by the way. So that can happen in real life. So then when they do that, it takes the door away from her and she can't get back. So now she has a body in the hospital that can't wake up. And then her like spirit self is in this world, this fantasy world where she's facing all kinds of different, she has to go on a journey. She goes on a quest to get a book. She meets all different kinds of creatures. And of course, there's the villain, the Ghastly Grimm, that she has to stand up against.
Is this a one and done type situation, or do you have plans for more?
I do have plans to write another. So I did stop writing the book that I was writing, which was an adult thriller based on a psych nurse, because I'm a psych nurse. And so I finished writing that book, and I'm in the process of editing that book now. So after all of that's done, it takes a while. My editing phase is definitely the longest phase of my writing process. So after all of that's done, I will return and finish the second book for Delilah versus the Ghastly, and possibly a third.
Okay, good. I hope you come back for all of those books.
Thank you.
To talk about that. You were saying that you started that first book, that you're a nurse. Where did writing come into your life? Like, has that always been a passion, or is that something that's kind of new?
It's interesting. I wouldn't say it was with me the whole time. I'm getting up there in age a little bit. I'm a grandma. So, when I was younger, not really. I played around a lot when I was younger, I think. And I've talked about this several times. Like I was steered away from being a nurse when I was younger by someone because I think I didn't take school seriously. And they were like, oh, you're probably not going to be smart enough for that kind of thing. And I believed that I wasn't. And then it wasn't until I had some testing done that I found that I scored really high. And then one teacher kind of turned everything around for me. And she's like, it's not that you're dumb, it's that you're not trying. And so then I started to try, and I found that school was pretty easy. And so I actually became a professor of criminal justice. I worked at Brook University. Yeah, that's a whole different world. But I was in the military, my husband's military. We moved from place to place, and I kind of had to reinvent myself depending on where we were for work. And so when finally he got out of the military, we were able to move and be near family. And my daughter had a child with special needs. So we moved to be near her to help her, so that made me, I was in a position where I was like, I couldn't really find work that went along with what my background was. And it was suggested that I try again for nursing. And so then I went back and I got my nursing degree. It doesn't take very long, to be honest with you. And that's how I ended up being a nurse. So it was like a process, but during that time I would write, but it was more for myself. It was more cathartic. I find writing to be a release. And I think it was my daughter who came across some of my writing in a garage or something. And it was more of my story. Most people would never believe my life, but she read the story. I think she got teary-eyed about it. And then she said, you should write like for real, like put something out there for real. And so that kind of sparked that in me where I wanted to do it. But when I wrote Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, I wanted it to be more than just writing for myself. I wanted it to be special. So I put it through a lot. I did like 30 edits for Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. It went through 2 professional edits, one being from the editor of The Hunger Games, another by a professional literary agent and award-winning writer. And I got great advice from other writers on how to proceed with this book, because when I wrote the book, I knew I was going to do my own company, Blue Round Book Group, to release it, and I wanted to make sure that it was strong enough. So while I've been writing a long time, I've been writing more for me, and I think I didn't have the skill base to really release things to the public. And now I'm like growing that side and learning more and more. And I'm taking classes to improve my skills and make sure that the writing is up to par. Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm actually did really well. It's won several awards. So I'm pretty happy with it. And it's even hit #1 on children's epilepsy health on Amazon bestseller list. So it's doing pretty well. I'm happy about that. But I still feel like as a writer, I'll continuously try to develop and improve those skills.
I think that's so smart, right? Like, I say that all the time, even about that. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, but every time I'm like, try to improve one thing every time you do something. Like, why not? And it helps you stretch yourself too in your creativity and your skill.
And there's so many other people who have different perspectives, and sometimes you're like, they open your eyes to something you may not have seen or experienced before, and you're like, oh, well, let me try that approach. Maybe it'll work better here, and maybe it won't. But it gives you that opportunity to grow as an individual and in your profession.
100%. You mentioned Blue Round Book Group. Tell everybody what that is.
So it is my imprint. I did decide to release Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm under my own imprint, and that is Blue Round Book Group. You can see that at www.blueroundbookgroup.com. I'm not opposed to the traditional means. In fact, when I release the adult book, I may go that route. I haven't decided which route I want to go yet. But one of the things I'm hoping to do with that imprint is to kind of make it a focus for releasing stories that are more representative and more inclusive. So that is a goal of mine. I have been talking to other writers who are interested in possibly releasing some stuff, but it's going to be a process. I'm not going to lie. I think maybe I took it on before I really understood
what that meant. Yeah.
The marketing is the hardest part. Nobody ever tells you that stuff. Yeah. And I'm not really a very social media savvy person. Like, I would rather be the person behind the scenes, so I'm still having to work on that side of it. So it might take a little time.
What are you hearing from the people that have read the book?
That's the best part. And it's the best part, but it's also a frustrating part because, it's so important to get reviews. And I get a lot of people saying, oh, I read this story, or I read this story with my child. And sometimes it's even like the greatest thing where it's like, my child's autistic. He won't read anything. We turn this into a nightly event, and it's like the only thing he wants to read. So it's become really beautiful feedback. In fact, I would say the vast majority of feedback has been extremely positive. But no, to get them to actually go and write a review is like impossible. I don't know how anyone does it.
Yes. Who was I just talking to? I was talking to someone in the business world about having a business like Google page or whatever, and how consistent and persistent you have to be to people to get that, because they have great intentions, right? And they love the book and they want it, but it's not on the top of their mind. So it's that weekly, hey, can you take, or hey, do you remember me? Can you do that?
And you want to ask. One, you're not supposed to ask. Like, I think that's like against the rules now for Amazon. You're not supposed to actually request stuff like that. And then another is, it feels like, please just write that down over here so other people can see it. So it's a very awkward position. I don't know. That's something I don't know that I'll ever solve.
But it's so important out there. If you're any book you're buying, to go and review it if you love it, because it helps so many other different things when people are searching it. And it's just so important to do that for the things that you're interacting with, no matter what it is.
And even if they don't like it, at least then I could see like what didn't they like about it? What should I look at that for maybe the next approach?
Yeah.
It helps me learn too, to see if there are problems. I mean, I feel like also when people message you, like they'll message you through social media or whatever and send you like, hey, I love the book and stuff like that. They feel like that's it. I've said my piece. So they don't go and do the review. I think that's really a big part of it. But it is important as far as helping the book become successful, because let's face it, I myself do it too. I check reviews. So I would say, like with Blue Round Book Group, that is an area that I need to, I think, understand better and maybe learn a better process on how to make that happen.
What is the best way that people can connect with you out there in the world?
So if you go to my website, www.blueroundbookgroup.com, if you scroll down to the bottom, there'll be links there to my social media, or there's a contact page that will send an email to me directly.
Perfect. What do you love most about your life right now?
Oh boy, I would have to say my family. I will say, like, I'm a very, very family oriented person. I actually was with Delilah earlier today. I took her to her speech therapy today, and she had this, her mom did this braid in her hair. She braided in like a color of blue and pink, and and it was just so adorable. And I always say she's like she's the light in the dark, because she's this very quirky, very funny. She likes, for a 4-year-old, she definitely has almost a sarcastic sense of humor. And she might get that from me because I'm sarcastic too.
I need her on the show.
So I love, and you know what? Family's so important. Family, friends, and of course, God.
Does she know that she's a star in a book?
She does. So even though she's 4 years old and cannot read this book because it does have some darker elements in it, when I first got the first copy, and it was a copy to edit, her mom told her like the night before, oh, Nana's got the book she wrote for you at her house. She's going to show it to you, right? And she showed her, I had a promo video. She showed her the promo video of it the night before. And then she shows up at my house the next day, and she came in like a storm, this little 4-year-old marching in like a storm. And she has a unique walk because of her disability. It's a very unique walk out of her daycare. They call it the Delilah walk because it's very unique. And she comes in like a storm, and she's like screaming, Nana, where is it? Give it to me. And so like she wanted the book, and then she carried it around with her. Sometimes she would sleep with it and hug it. And it was just so beautiful. I mean, if nothing ever happened with the book, I would be satisfied that, she reacted that way.
But then things are happening with the book. So there's a little icing on the cake. So I love that. Before we head out today, will you play a game with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Let me get it ready. And so it's just like a trivia game, okay?
Okay. All right.
Based around some things that you may or may not know.
Uh-oh.
And if you get 3 out of 5 correct, the entire non-existent studio audience gets a copy of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. So no pressure, TL.
That's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure because no one's in this room, so no one actually wins the book. But that's okay. We'll pretend. Are you ready? It's called Ghastly or Glorious.
Okay.
I'm going to give you true or false questions it's blending magical fantasy, storytelling, and real world stuff. And you just have to tell me true or false.
Okay.
3 out of 5. True or false? In most fantasy stories, the portal to another world is often blue or indigo.
True?
That is true, yes. 1 down. Number 2, which of these is a real middle grade fantasy novel featuring a disabled protagonist? El Defo, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Wild Robot, or The Lightning Door?
So you say feature, but not that it doesn't have to be the protagonist, right? Percy Jackson had a disabled character in there.
It's a fantasy novel featuring a disabled protagonist.
The protagonist. Okay. Let's say the first one.
That's true. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be it for the win. Which of these magical powers is most often associated with emotional healing in fantasy stories? Is it telepathy, shape-shifting, light magic, or time travel?
I'm going to say light magic.
Oh my gosh, that is correct. 3 in a row. Everyone in the audience gets a copy of the book thanks to TL. Oh, and she autographed all of them as well, too, which is so sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. And the trivia was super fun.
Well,
I totally guessed on all of those.
well, you got it right, and that's really all that matters around here. So people win. That's great. Please come back anytime you've got a book coming out, or not, if you just want to hang out.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Welcome back. It's Monday. That means there's a new episode of Before You Go, the podcast from Abode, this nonprofit in San Antonio that I work with, and I love working with them. We've already recorded all of season 3, but it's a new episode today, so take a look.
Well, how do you keep your cup full when you do all this work? You're holding this space for others. You're creating wonderful curricula and beautiful atmospheres for people to process their grief and loss. How do you keep your cup full?
Lately, it's been very bodily. It's working out. I like to lift weight. And I'm about to get back to roller skating. So, I feel like you can live in the cerebral only so long before really have to remember, oh, right, I live in a body. It's time to do something.
And that sounds so joyful. Like I always talk with our doula students, like, what is your definition of joy? And that's something that we can ask people that we serve too. And to me, roller skating sounds so joyful.
You can learn more about them at abodehome.org. And if you need help with your podcast, send an email to me at makeyourdayricher@gmail.com, or comment or message, or however you get a hold of me. We can start that. All right. All right. Have a great day. On tomorrow's show, Dana is here from the Sisterhood Against Sexual Assault. We're going to be talking all about the work they're doing in and around Union County, and also it's Halloween time. So the Mombies are out in full force. So you'll learn all about that as well. Have a great day, everyone. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I love you for it. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye.